Hello students, starting with the next part 2 of chapter 4, molecular basis of inheritance. Students, this whole topic is included for the syllabus of HSC board examination. In the part 1 of this chapter 4, we have studied the discovery of DNA. The genetic material is a DNA by studying three different experiments by three different scientists. Like we have studied Griffith experiment, then experiment by Avery McCarthy MacLeod, and third by Hershey and Chase. Now in this video we are going to study DNA packaging in prokaryotes and eukaryotes and DNA replication. So let us start with the first point, that is DNA packaging. The length of DNA double helix molecule in a typical mammalian cell is approximately 2.2 meters. This can be worked out simply by multiplying the total number of base pairs, that is the base pair between the adenine and thymine or guanine and the cytosine. So this can be worked out simply by multiplying the total number of base pairs with distance between the consecutive base pairs. Approximate size of typical nucleus is 10 raised to minus 6 meters. How long this DNA molecule can be then accommodated in such a small nucleus? So it is therefore must be condensed. It must be coiled and supercoiled to fit inside such a small nucleus. Packaging, starting with the packaging in prokaryotes. The prokaryotes, the mainly bacteria like E. coli, they have a cell size about 2 to 3 microns. Well organized nucleus, nuclear membrane and nucleolus is totally absent in prokaryotes. The whatever DNA material is present or genetic material is present is in the form of nucleoid, which is a small, circular, highly folded, naked ring of DNA, which is about 1100 microns long, containing about 4.6 million base pairs. The negatively charged DNA becomes circular, reducing the size to 350 mm in diameter. Further reduced to 30 mm in diameter. Because of the folding or looping, 40 to 50 domain or loops are formed. Formation of loops is assisted by RNA connectors. Each domain is further coiled and supercoiled, therefore reducing the size on to about 2 micron in diameter. 2 meter in diameter. This coiling or packaging is assisted by positively charged HU, that is histone-like DNA binding proteins, and enzymes like DNA gyrase and DNA topoisomerase 1 for maintaining supercoiling state of the DNA. So you can see how the DNA is packaged in the prokaryotic cell, that is E. coli. So you can see the circular unfolded chromosome lengths about having diameter about 350 microns. Then it is undergo coiling and supercoiling and the size is reduced to the 30 microns. Folded chromosome actually it is 40, having 40 to 50 loops. Then again it is further coiled and supercoiled, and then each loop is independently supercoiled with the help of the RNA digestion, and it is partially coiled uncoiled chromosome. Packaging in eukaryotes. Eukaryotes shows well organized nucleus containing nuclear membrane, nucleolus and thread-like material in the form of chromosomes. So U means they have a advanced karyote, that is the nucleus. So the nucleus is well organized. In chromosomes, DNA is associated with the histone and non-histone proteins. This is reported by R. Korenberg in 1974. The organization of DNA is very complex in eukaryotes. Depending upon the abundance of amino acid residues with charged side chains, protein acquires its charge. Histone are the proteins that are rich in amino acids like lysine and arginine residues. Both these amino acid residues are basic amino acids and they carry positive charges. So, histones are the set of positively charged basic proteins, that is histones and protamines. You can see the diagram of nucleosome. So, these histones organize themselves to make a unit of 8 molecules which is known as histone octamer. As they are 8 in number, they are called as octamers. Negatively charged helical coiled DNA is wrapped around a positively charged histone octamer, forming a structure called as nucleosome, made up of 2 molecules of each of 4 types of histone proteins, that is HA, HB, H and H1. H proteins binds the DNA thread where it enters and leaves the nucleosome. So you can see the model of nucleosome consisting the 4 proteins forming 2 tiers. H1 histone protein is present on the lateral side, coiled with the red colored DNA. You can see in the diagram. And then you can see the top view of nucleosome molecule where you can see the blue colored proteins in the center covered by a grey colored DNA. So this structure is called as nucleosome or the histone octamer. One nucleosome approximately contains 200 base pairs of long DNA helix wound around it. About 146 base pair long segment of DNA remain present in each nucleosome. Nucleosomes are the repeating units of chromatin, which are thread-like stained colored bodies present in the nucleus. These looks beads on a string when we observe under electron microscope. DNA helix of 200 base pairs wraps around the histone molecule octamer by 1/3 turns. 6 such nucleosomes get coiled and then they form a solenoid that looks. In the diagram you can see the nucleosomes particles. They looks like a beads on a string. This image is captured under electron microscope. The chromatin is packed to form a solenoid structure of 30 nanometers, that is 300 angstroms in diameter, and further it undergoes supercoiling, tends to form a looped structure which is called as chromatin fiber. You have to remember that, students, the DNA undergo coiling and supercoiling, and the size, that is which lengths up to 2 meter, that is reduced and it is fixed in the nucleus having the size 10 raised to minus 6 meters. Then the chromatin fiber further condenses at the metaphase stage to form a chromosome. So students, we can see the chromosomes well at the metaphase stage because they are highly condensed and they undergo dehydration. The packaging of chromatin at higher levels needs additional set of proteins that are called as non-histone chromosomal proteins or NHC. So here you can see a part by part diagram of packaging of DNA. So here you can see the blue colored histone octamers which are also called as nucleosome, and they show the presence of pink colored DNA wound around histone proteins. The DNA which is present between two nucleosomes is called as linker DNA. So in the other diagram you can see again the linker DNA is present. The DNA which is wrapped around the nucleosome is called as core DNA, and in the C diagram you can see the basic structure of nucleosome again, where you can see the histone proteins and core DNA. The diagram B shows the coiled nucleosomes. They undergo coiling to form a solenoid fiber. Non-histone or chromosomal proteins, they are also called as NHC proteins. These are additional sets of proteins that contribute to the packaging of chromatin at higher level. Okay, now starting with the process of DNA replication. As a carrier of genetic information, DNA has to perform two important functions. That first one is called as heterocatalytic function. That is, when DNA directs the synthesis of chemical molecules other than itself, such functions of DNA are called as heterocatalytic functions. For example, synthesis of RNA by transcription, synthesis of protein by translation, and so on. Second function is autocatalytic function. That is, when DNA directs the synthesis of DNA itself, then such function of DNA is called as autocatalytic function. For example, replication of DNA, replication of self molecule is called as autocatalytic function. Okay, so the process by which the DNA duplicates or forms replica of itself, exact copy of itself, is called replication. Through replication, it forms two copies that are identical to it. In eukaryotic organisms, replication of DNA takes place only once in cell cycle. It occurs in the S phase or synthetic phase of interphase in the cell cycle. In the 11th standard, we have studied the cell cycle in detail. DNA replicates through semi-conservative mode of replication. The model for semi-conservative replication was proposed first time by Watson and Crick on the basis of anti-parallel and complementary nature of DNA strands. So let us start with the process of semi-conservative replication. The first step in this is activation of nucleotides. Nucleotides, they are the units of DNA. So, the four types of nucleotides are present in the DNA, that is DAMP or deoxyriboadenine mononucleotide phosphate, DGMP, DCMP and DTMP. They are present in the nucleoplasm. They are activated by ATP molecules in the presence of enzyme phosphorylase. This results in the formation of deoxyribonucleotide triphosphates. So they are DATP, DGTP, DCTP and DTTP. This process is also known as phosphorylation because the monophosphates, they are converted into triphosphates by addition of two inorganic phosphates. So it's called as phosphorylation. Second step is point of origin or initiation point. So it is the point which is called as O or origin and that terminates at the point T. Origin is flanked by the T sites. The unit of DNA in which replication occurs is called as replicon. In prokaryotes, there is only one replicon is present, where in eukaryotes, several replicons are present in tandem units. At the point O, that is origin point, the endonuclease enzyme nicks one strand of DNA temporarily. The nick occurs in the sugar phosphate backbone or the phosphodiester bond. Nicking means the cut takes place by the enzyme endonuclease. It cuts the DNA between the strands. So it's called as endonucleases. The third step is unwinding of DNA molecule. Now the enzyme DNA helicase operates by breaking weak hydrogen bonds in the vicinity of origin point. The strands of DNA separate, they undergo unwinding, and this unwinding is bidirectional and it continues as Y-shaped replication fork. I am going to show you the diagram where you can see the replication fork. Each separated strand acts as a template for the formation of daughter strands. The two separated strands are prevented from uncoiling with the help of proteins which are called as SSBP proteins, single strand binding proteins, because they attaches to the single strand of the DNA and they prevents the recoiling of the DNA. SSB proteins remain attached to both the separated strands so as to facilitate synthesis of new polynucleotide strands. The next step is replicating fork. The point formed due to unwinding and separation of two strands appear like a Y-shaped fork, which is called as replicating or replication fork. The unwinding of strands imposes a strain which is relieved by superhelix relaxing enzyme. The next point is synthesis of new strands. Each separated strand acts as a mold or template for the synthesis of new complementary strand. It begins with the help of small RNA molecule called RNA primer. RNA primer get associated with the 3' end of template strand and it attracts complementary nucleotides from surrounding nucleoplasm. That means when the ATP is present on the strand, it attracts the DTTP molecule and so on. It's called as complementary nucleotides. These nucleotides molecules bind to complementary nucleotides on the template strand by forming hydrogen bonds. Just now I have explained, that is, adenine attracts the thymine nucleotides or thymine attracts the adenine nucleotides. Guanine attracts the cytosine nucleotides or the cytosine attracts the guanine nucleotides. Double bond formation takes place between A and T or T and A, and 3 hydrogen bond formation takes place between G and C or C and G. The newly bound nucleotides get interconnected by phosphodiester bond, forming a polynucleotide strand. The synthesis of new complementary strand is catalyzed by enzyme DNA polymerase. New complementary strand is always formed in 5' to 3' direction. Next step is leading and lagging strands. The template strand with free 3' end is called leading template, and with free 5' end is called as lagging template. The process of replication always starts at C' end of template strand and proceeds towards the C5 end. As both strands of parental DNA are anti-parallel, new strands are always formed in 5' to 3' direction. One of these newly synthesized strands develops continuously towards replicating fork and hence is called as leading strand. And the other new strand developed it continuously away from the replicating fork is called as lagging strand. Maturation of Okazaki fragments. The fragments, they are named after the scientist Okazaki. DNA synthesis on the lagging template takes place in the form of small fragments and they are called as Okazaki fragments. Okazaki fragments are later joined by enzyme DNA ligase. RNA primers, they are removed by the enzyme DNA polymerase and replaced by the DNA sequence with the help of DNA polymerase 1 in prokaryotes and DNA polymerase alpha in eukaryotes. Finally, DNA gyrase, or they are also called as topoisomerase enzyme, forms double helix form daughter DNA molecules. Last step is formation of daughter DNA molecules. At the end of replication, 2 daughter DNA molecules are formed. In each daughter DNA, one strand is parental or a template strand and the other one is totally new synthesized. Thus, 50% is contributed by the mother or parental DNA. Hence, The type of replication is also called as semi-conservative type of replication. Now you can see in the diagram, on the one side you can see the DNA double helix which is cut open by the enzyme DNA helicase. Then the strand which runs in the 3' to 5' direction, and this called as template strand, and the strand which is exactly complementary to it which runs in 5' to 3' direction, blue colored strand, is called as leading strand because the synthesis of DNA takes place is continuous on this strand, so it's called as leading strand. The strand which runs from 5' to 3' direction but in the fragments it's called as lagging strand, and you can see the red colored Okazaki fragments which are later joined by the enzyme DNA ligase. Now the experimental confirmation of semi-conservative DNA replication. It is experimentally proved by the scientists Matthew Meselson and Franklin Stahl in 1958 by using equilibrium density gradient centrifugation technique. Meselson and Stahl cultured bacteria E. coli in the medium containing the 14N, that is light form of nitrogen, and obtained equilibrium density gradient band by using 6 molar cesium chloride solution. The position of this band is recorded. E. coli cells were then transferred to 15N, which is the heavy isotopic form of nitrogen, and allowed to replicate for several generations. At the equilibrium point, density gradient band was obtained by using again the 6 molar solution of cesium chloride. The position of this band is also recorded. Then the heavy DNA, that is 15 nitrogen molecule, can be distinguished from the normal DNA by centrifugation in 6 molar concentration of cesium chloride density gradient. The density gradient of 6 molar cesium chloride and 15N DNA is almost same. Therefore, at the equilibrium point, 15N DNA will form a band. In both the strands of DNA are labeled with 15N. Such E. coli cells were they transfer to another medium containing the light form of nitrogen, that is 14N. After first generation, the density gradient band for the 14N and 15N was obtained and its position was recorded. After second generation, two density gradient bands were obtained, one at the 14N, 15N position and another at the 14N position. The position of bands after two generations clearly proved that DNA replication is semi-conservative. So see the diagram. The first, the Meselson and Stahl, they grow bacteria in the heavy form of nitrogen. So you can see they obtain only one band of the DNA, original DNA. Then they transfer the cells to the 14N to go for the one generation. So they form a hybrid molecule, hybrid DNA containing one strand having the 15N form of the nitrogen and another having 14N form of the nitrogen. So you can see the diagram shows hybrid form of the DNA, light colored band having the 14N form and the dark colored band having the 15N form. Again they grow the second generation in 14N form, that is the normal form of the nitrogen, and they obtain the 4 molecules in the second generation, in which containing the 2 hybrid molecules having the one strand with 15N and the another strand having 14N, and they got the 2 molecules which having the only 14N form of the DNA, and the obtaining the 2 bands of the DNA in the solution clearly proved that the DNA replication is semi-conservative in all mammalian cells. In the next part, students will study the protein synthesis process.